So if you're moving from the East or West Coast, especially you New Yorkers, you're probably looking at two cities right now, Miami and Dallas. They usually start with the same thing. There's no state income tax, right? And yes, while that's partly true, what a lot of folks don't realize until they're already living there is that in Florida, your homeowner's insurance can literally become your biggest expense. And in some cases, it's actually higher than the mortgage. And this is the part that most people don't see until it's too late. So this is more than a cost of living video. This is what your life would actually look like after you move your money, your lifestyle, and so much more. If you're new here, my name is Modupe Idowu. You can call me Mo. I am a Texas realtor and a mortgage loan originator. And so whether you're moving in 8 or 80 days, our team makes that process smooth from finding you the right area and home in the Dallas area. So I want to talk about insurance. Let's slow this down for just a second because this is where a lot of people, especially retirees, are getting caught off guard. So in Florida, insurance costs have spiked over the last few years. And according to reporting from Yahoo Finance and just some industry data, homeowners are often paying 2 to 3 times the national average. What does that mean? I'm talking $6,000, $8,000, even $10,000 or more per year. And so when you think about that, this isn't a one-time cost. It's something you're paying every year on top of your mortgage, on top of your property taxes, all right, on top of everything else. So what I'm starting to see, and this is really real, is that some retirees who moved to Florida for affordability are now leaving. They just can't afford to stay. Then you have the second layer of those HOA fees, right? Especially in Miami, where a lot of people are buying condos. And over the last few years, these buildings have had to increase their reserves, update their structures, comply with new safety regulations, especially after that really tragic collapse that happened in Florida. And so what used to be maybe a $400 or $500 HOA fee is now $800, $1,000, even $1,500 a month in some cases. And that's not the hardest part. The hardest part is something called special assessment. So if you've never heard of that, it's basically like a surprise bill for some of those building repairs. I'm talking $20,000, $50,000 or more per unit. And you don't get years to prepare for that. It just shows up. So now you're coming out of pocket on a property that you thought was affordable. So what happens when costs go up like this? Well, people start selling. And that's exactly what we started to see. More inventory, especially in 55 plus communities. And then in some cases, you've got price reductions of 20, 30, and in certain communities, even more, not because the area is bad, but because the cost to hold the property has just become too high. So now let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture. Because again, we want to talk about buying a home, and I want to compare that from Dallas to Miami, because this is where those long-term decisions really happen. So according to data from Zillow, the median home price in Dallas right now is around $300,000. But in Miami, you're looking at a median price of $470,000 to $500,000. That's almost a 60% difference. And this is where it kind of gets crazy. So in Dallas, homes cost about 4.5 times the average income, but in Miami, it's about 8 times your income. Let me translate that. In Dallas, homeownership is more of a plan, whereas in Miami, it can feel more like a dream. So we're talking affordability here, right? There's a metric I want you to understand because it's really important, especially when you're making a decision to move. And it's called the price to income ratio. All that means is how many years of income does it take to buy a home? In Dallas, it's 4 to 5 times your income. In Miami, it's closer to 8 times. So what does that feel like in real life? In Dallas, you can plan for home ownership. In Miami, you're really stretching. Let's talk about the cost of living, rent, and income. All right, your day-to-day life. So according to NMBA data, Miami is generally 40 to 50% more expensive than Dallas when you include rent. If we're just talking rent by itself, it's more like 65% higher in Miami. So just right out the gate, completely different lifestyle. In fact, the average person spends maybe around $3,100 a month in Miami and then $2,400 in Dallas. When you break that down, you're spending between $700 to $900 more per month on the same lifestyle, same groceries, same dinners, Same basic life, just a different city. And what gets even more interesting is that the average household income in Dallas is around $67,000, whereas in Miami, it's $59,000. So you can kind of see where your money is going, right? You're making less in a more expensive city when it comes to Dallas versus Miami. And the Harvard Joint Center for Housing says once you spend more than 30% of your income on housing, you're really considered cost burdened. And a lot of people in Miami are well above that, which is why there are so many people who choose Dallas over Miami. So I want to talk about opportunity and jobs because this is where Dallas really starts to separate itself. The Dallas-Fort Worth metro area has 21 Fortune 500 companies, one of the highest concentrations in the entire country. We're talking about companies like AT&T, Texas Instruments, Southwest Airline, CBRE Group, Energy Transfer, and even in the metro, you've got American Airlines and McKesson. So this is a corporate powerhouse economy with more than $1 trillion in company revenue generated regionally. Now let's compare that to Miami. Now Florida, the state as a whole, has 22 Fortune 500 companies total, but only a few of them are based in Miami itself. And those key players in Miami are Lennar and World Connect. So what that means is that Dallas really does have that deep, diversified corporate economy, whereas Miami, listen, it's growing, but it's more concentrated and has more of a global trade focus as well. Now let's talk lifestyle, parks, and all the things outdoors. This is where it gets a little bit interesting. I love being outdoors, all right? So in Dallas, you've got more than 400 parks, more than 23,000 acres of green space. So places like Clyde Warren Park, White Rock Lake. So it's very structured, very family oriented, spread out. Miami, on the other hand, you're getting the beach, right? The water, the energy. So it's not that one is better than the other. It's more so, what kind of lifestyle that you're actually looking for. So we definitely say that Dallas is a little bit more family friendly than Miami. So when it comes to culture, sports, there's a lot to choose from in both Dallas and Miami, right? You've got all the major sports teams in Dallas, a huge arts district, and it's just a more grounded, steady environment. Miami's gonna give you that global culture, nightlife, and energy. So again, there is this trade-off. It just depends on what works best for you. And then we get to the weather. Now in Dallas, the summers can be really hot. Okay, I'm talking about summers that range from 95 to 100 degrees Fahrenheit are the average highs. In the wintertime, it can drop into the 30s and 40s, and we are known to get some tornado activity, some really temperature swings, and those popular cold snap freezes that happen at least once a year, once in the wintertime, right? Whereas in Miami, the summers, it's high humidity, 90-degree averages. The winters are 70 and 80 degrees, so very mild. Dew point significantly higher, so it makes it feel hotter. But they are known for those hurricanes and flood risk. And so in Dallas, there's more variability. Miami is more consistent, but it's more storm prone, right? And that kind of plays into that risk that we spoke about earlier when it comes to the homeowner's insurance, including flood insurance. Okay, and taxes, very popular, right? So yes, both states have no state income tax, right? So that doesn't mean that they cost the same, right? So in Texas, you're gonna pay more in property taxes. It just is what it is. But in Florida, you're gonna pay more through insurance, HOA fees, and some of those more unpredictable costs. So it's not about, what you avoid, it's more so about where the costs show up. So if you're really trying to decide between the two cities, here's what I would want you to think about. If your goal is stability, homeownership, and building wealth over time, then Dallas is a contender because it's going to give you a more predictable path. But if your priority is more so lifestyle, energy, being close to the beach, then Miami may be worth the extra cost for you. But either way, I'm curious, which one would you choose, Dallas or Miami? I want you to pop a comment below. And if you are seriously considering Dallas, book a call with the team. The link is in the description. The QR code is on the screen one way or the other, but we're gonna help you make that move right away. We are looking forward to helping you make the smooth transition to the DFW area. And until we see you next time, I hope to see you around Dallas.
Most people skip right past Rowlett when moving to Dallas. That could be a mistake. In the next video, I'm breaking down the real pros and cons before you decide.